I am Caitlin, and I am a life, relationships, and mental health coach. And today I'm excited to share with you my current client, Jordana, who's going to share a little bit about her experience with coaching, as well as her experience with me in coaching. So, hi, Jordana.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Always lovely to see you. I'm having a good day today. Thank you.
You too, as well. Thank you so much for coming. I know this is super strange. Normally, our sessions are completely confidential. So I'm very grateful that you were willing to come and share your experience with everyone today.
Oh, definitely. I've had such a great experience with you that it only made sense just to tell other people because it's really helping me. So,
Oh, thank you for sharing. And I mean, you can see your background. I know you got lots going on, and I would love if you would be able to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
yeah, so I own a small beauty business. My job is a passion of mine, so it has overcome a lot of my life, and I have a really hard time struggling with balance. I've had my business for 8 years now, and I'm at a point now where things are going smoothly, but I don't know how to balance out the rest of my life, and it affects all of my relationships. And so it also makes me not necessarily show up to work 100% as well in the way that I'd like to. So I've kind of been stuck for a long time, and I worked with different therapists, different counselors, and I'm finding that working with Caitlin has been so far what I've really needed to work on a constant basis, because we do meet twice a week and that's what we've been doing and that's what works for us. And it I started off with the 3-month program and we've continued, and I'm loving it so much I'll probably continue it again past that. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I know we have been on quite a journey together, and I think it's great for people to get to see that business owners who are successful at what they do, which Jordana very much is, and she still seeks additional support and for that guidance. And I think everyone else needs that kind of support as well. And so it's nice to have you here being able to share that with everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to, and I know I'm not the only one, and it's definitely helping me grow as a person. So, yeah.
And I think like a really good place to start would be just why did you decide that coaching was the right time for you at this point in your life?
Yeah, so I never thought of coaching, I guess, as an option before. So when I saw it available, I was like, what is this? So even when we had our first meeting, where I guess the consultation, I didn't really know what to expect. And then getting into it, it kind of just ended up becoming a flow, and we figured out what was best for me, which I really appreciated. That is, we like sometimes we go into a session and you're like, okay, I got these things that we could do today, and then I completely change it based upon what I'm needing or what I'm going through or a structure that I have or just whichever. And it just goes along with the flow, and you're always ready with ideas and options and support, and it's great. And you help me through so many things. Even little things that don't seem like a big deal, they've really built up, and we see patterns. And so it's just really nice to kind of have someone, a professional, be like, okay, this is why you're tired, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it is important that there is somebody there to also validate too. I think oftentimes we excuse what we're going through as we should be able to manage this, when in actuality, like who gave us the skills to be able to do that in the first place? So yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And with your journey so far, is there any strategies or routines that you would recommend to a client who maybe isn't sure that coaching is going to be the best fit for them?
There's so many things. Well, we've implemented different things into my daily routine. I'm a very scheduled person, so that's what's worked for me. So you've kind of worked with me to find different coping strategies, I suppose, that are quick go-tos, or different coping strategies that I've added into my day to day. I was having very much difficulty sleeping, and now when it happens, we can really focus in on it and be like, okay, this is what is happening, or this is what you should do when that's happening, because we're figuring out what works for me. But one big thing that we've added in to my regular day to day, I read every night now, and we're working on some books together. So it's what's working for me. I never read before. I'm not a reader. It's not a strong suit for me, but it's really helping me calm down really refocus my brain and not be still stuck at work or stuck on the problems or stuck on the cleaning the house or just other things coming up. And that's been really big for me. Or I don't necessarily do this every day, but I take more baths, but like they're with intention. And it sounds so simple to be like, oh yeah, I take baths, but it's at a different point now than it was before, where I'm really just able to decompress and I use this as a source for me and not just, okay, I'm gonna have a bath because it's supposed to be relaxing. It's like I am actually intentionally doing things now or going for a walk and intentionally being like, oh, you're outside. I can enjoy this. It's a beautiful day and you're noticing more things and like the beautiful things of life. So I
Yeah.
guess they all become part of my routine on a regular basis now, even if it's not every day.
Yeah, and it is about creating that space too. And I really like that you highlighted the reading and the baths. I mean, we call them coping strategies, but in actuality, it's just trying to find this routine and this balance in your life where you're reminding yourself that, yes, I have loved ones, and yes, I have friends, and I have work that I'm passionate about, but I also need to remember that I'm not going to be my best self if I don't make time for myself. And so oftentimes what we're doing in coaching is simple things like when you have a bath or when you have a shower and you're getting ready for something, we make it an event. You're putting on music, you have bubbles, you have your favorite drink of choice, whether it be soda or water, whatever that is, to try and actually relax and calm down. And it kind of clears your mind and gives you the ability to figure out really what are my next steps today. Sometimes it's even just helpful for that transition. So, yeah, you've been doing a lot of that and 4 books so far, too. So, for a non-reader, Jordana is really into the books, and we usually do it with highlighting, and that brings deeper discussions within our coaching because things will come up in these books that are obviously tailored to exactly what Jordana's goals are and what she wants to work on. But I find those two are extremely effective coping strategies. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, yeah.
And what would you say would be anything that has changed within your routine since you've done coaching?
Routines. Well, I suppose in general, like I really realize how much I struggle at communicating with people and communicating my needs or accepting help. Being a sole business owner, I'm used to doing everything on my own. So I'm now learning and still learning. I feel like this is going to be a big learning thing for me, to properly accept help, properly ask for help, and properly communicate my needs, even down to just simple conversations, because I always feel really guilty doing a lot or asking for things. So that guilt is leaving because I'm communicating properly. And even just simple things as making dinner plans. Like sometimes I would wonder, I'm like, what am I saying wrong? Why am I like, why is this so confusing? Why can't we figure this out? Or why am I misunderstanding them? Or I didn't tell them that I need to know by a certain time. So since I am so scheduled, I'm learning how to tell people what my needs are, or as simple as like, let's have dinner next weekend. Okay, what time? How simple is that? But I would skip certain steps that really benefit my life now. So it's just very simple little life details, but it's almost like micro habits, and it's really changed. And we worked a lot on it for like the simplest thing, but it really makes a huge impact on all of my relationships, work, my fiance, my family, my friends. So it's nice.
Yeah, and it really is that. I mean, one thing that I can say about you is if you have an example, you give it, and we'll do role plays. Sometimes it seems simple and it doesn't mean a lot, but it's the practice of those small incidents or examples that help us build up the ability to feel more confident about setting boundaries in our life, knowing that potentially some of those people we may be setting boundaries with might not be accepting of those boundaries, or work boundaries may upset our employees or our staff in the future, whatever that is, that case for anybody watching this is. Boundaries are really difficult to get started with, and it's all about communication and really learning about your core values, which I think, Jordana, you've done a really great job at putting in the work to try and do that, because it's like retraining the brain to think completely different than as it did before you started coaching.
Oh, definitely. Like I had a really hard time setting boundaries, and it's something that we'll continue working on together for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot better about it now because if I communicate clearly, I can still be a kind person. I can still ask nicely, and I can still properly explain if I get any pushback if needed. But I'm also not over explaining myself when I'm first asking, and that's less annoying to people in my life. So it definitely helps. And it gives me confidence as well to be like, okay, I communicate this clearly. It's obvious what I'm asking or what my needs are. If they can't match them, then we can deal with it then. But it's been a huge help in everyday life.
Yeah. And I know we made a joke about, being draining on our friends and our family, but I think it's also about too, like that you're getting the opportunity to feel like it's okay to use less words because what you're saying is meaningful, and those people that are in your life will respect those boundaries around you. And that is so hard to do. And it's so hard to train. And we all have all these habits from what we usually gain from when we're a lot younger that we bring into our adult life. So it's been difficult. So you've done a really great job. I would say, what I'm trying to think of some things that I what has been the hardest thing for you to implement so far in our journey?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like you have an example in your head. Yeah. Um,
I was thinking perfectionism.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do struggle with perfectionism hardcore. And I like that we kind of talk about it in a sense where it's more of a disorder because it makes it a little bit more real in dealing with it because there's a lot of positives come from people who struggle with like who have perfectionism. It sounds like such a positive thing, but when it's to the extreme where nothing is good enough that I do, then it's very debilitating and you spend so much time wasted. You beat yourself up, and it's really hard. I'm currently planning a wedding, so as you can imagine, it's a special day. I've thought of my whole life. So that's been something that we bring up constantly is the perfectionism and how to manage and how to work through that while still enjoying the process as much as possible so that I can enjoy my wedding day when it comes. So that's been a big one for sure. Yeah.
I think it's been really good too. I mean, Jordana is actually not only planning a wedding, but designing the wedding herself. So, of course, for somebody with perfectionism, that is going to lead to some fixation. And she's done a beautiful job. Obviously, I have seen her work and agree that her work was good 5 steps before she believed it was. But you've worked really hard on making firm lines with yourself and scheduling and taking breaks and knowing, you know what, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm feeling fixated, cut that. That doesn't need to be done. So far, you've been doing an excellent job there, but that is not an easy thing to accomplish.
No, yeah, looking back, I'm like, nope, it is still a very hard thing that I'm working on. But I feel more comfortable talking about it with people in my life. And even when I'm asking for help with people or getting someone's opinion on something, I'd be like, this is why it's bothering me. I'm not a crazy person. Or this is why I know I'm overthinking this. Can you just give me an input or give me some feedback? And it definitely feels like it's a healthier conversation that I'm having, being able to talk about it. And yes, that's been really nice.
Yeah, that's an important one to share. I think a lot of people struggle with perfectionism and yes, don't know that it's a disorder and it's used as sometimes a funny casual word, but for people who are struggling with perfectionism, it is a difficult thing to overcome and it can lead to not feeling good enough and confidence issues. So I think it's great that that was one of the first things that you brought up in our beginning of our sessions was this needs to be looked at.
And I don't even think that I called it perfectionism or really realized that's what it was until we talked more about it. Once you got to know more about me and what was going, like what I'm struggling with, it kind of came together. So I'm also so much more aware of myself, and that's helping me learn and helping me kind of grow. And when I'm in the moment, and even the word ruminating, I never used that word before, but I use it all the time now. Like I'm ruminating on this, like it's not necessary. Let's figure this out, or let's take a break. I know that this is a trigger point for me when I start ruminating. So like there's key things that I bring up in conversations all the time now that I didn't use before, and it feels a lot healthier, and it feels like I can work through them in a more calm, realistic way.
Really good point. It's like once you actually know and you've learned, you now feel that it is achievable versus having no idea living in chaos. So I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, I
The
feel like I came to you being like, I don't know, I just know I'm not balanced. I don't know, I know this isn't working anymore. So
finding balance. So if you were to, I would say, okay, if you were able to describe what a coaching session is actually like for people, since it is very different than going to a therapy session, what would you say?
Oh, I mean, I feel like that would be different from person to person because you do break it down to the individual's needs. I did mention earlier that sometimes I come into a session and I bring up things that are going on. So it kind of I end up taking the lead on what we're talking about. But other times you come in and you're like, I have all these things that I think that we can work on based upon our current flow of events. But you, right from the beginning, you're like, okay, based upon what we talked about, this is what I think the way that we should get started, or kind of like a guideline for our path for the next 3 months. For us, we ended up changing it and focusing in a bit more in certain areas, like the perfectionism, before we continued on to other things. And we paused certain things. Like at first, we were going to hardcore change my work schedule, but we realized we needed to work on other things a bit more before we dove into that. Um, and so that is a plan for after the wedding, which will be nice and much less stressful for me. But even still, we are working on it on a smaller scale, which is comfortable for me. So, but yeah, what I mean, we always just kind of start off with like, how's your day? What's going on? And then we dive into the things that I've been working on. So there are quote unquote homework, but things that you give me to work on. And it's based upon what's realistic for me. You never push me. I don't ever feel uncomfortable if I don't finish it. That is the perfectionism in me that's like, I have to finish this and do more than what she tells me to do. And I don't feel pressure to do that. And it's been really nice. That is something that I think even working on my perfectionism has helped, not feeling that pressure and being like, it's okay. I didn't read all of the pages. I got close, but I didn't read them all. And that's been really nice. So I think just added benefit. So we do talk about that. We talk about things that come up. So every time we meet, I'm sure you're learning more and more about me
Mhm.
and learning more and more about directions or placing things together. And we kind of end with, okay, this is what we're working on next, or this is what we're focusing on right now. Let me know how this goes. Or you know what, this weekend, you've got a lot going on. Make sure you take breaks. Make sure you're being kind to yourself and you're using your coping mechanisms, or you know you have a stressful person you're seeing. These things could help you. Don't forget them. I'll send you an email so you can quickly see them. So all of those things have been really helpful. And some things that in the beginning, like the 333s, is a coping strategy that I use when I'm in the moment when I need something really quick, and I can do that. In bed when I'm sleeping and I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't fall back asleep, or if I'm out for a walk, or if I'm at work and I'm feeling really anxious, it helps me bring me back to reality and calms me down. So there's just reminders of things that come up with you too. So I feel like there's it just depends on what I need, like what's going on that day.
I think that's a really good description of it. And the clarify, like Jordana is right. I think coaching is really about Jordana coming in and leading the session and whatever's going on. And if there isn't something that's going on that's currently present, we work on those goals that we discussed in the beginning. But I think because this is life coaching, we work towards all areas. And I also think it's so important that we work together in all areas at the client's pace. There's no pushing of the client to go past where they want to go and to move forward when they're not ready, and it's about that adjustment. And I think that's why we agree to extend with the two of us, is that we still have other goals, but we've accomplished a lot already together, and it is a journey that we are doing together. It's not just Jordana's journey, it's our journey. That's why it's so important to find that like best fit coach for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that like any therapy or counselor or coach that I've worked with in the past, I think it's you really need to connect with that person. And I find it so easy to talk to you, and you make me feel very comfortable. I mean, you've seen me smiling, you've seen me with no makeup on, you've seen me all dolled up, you've seen me crying, you've seen me all over the place, and I feel very comfortable with you letting out those true emotions in the moment with what's going on, because we're growing from it, and it's really nice. Mhm.
And then gives us the ability to actually get to that deep place if you're actually able to feel like you can show up as you are and not necessarily have to explain it or excuse it away, but process it and work through it and have goals for it. And I also liked you mentioned earlier too about checking in on weekends. I think that's really important for people to feel like me and Jordana, because we were doing the big package together, we see each other twice a week. So we see each other at the beginning of the week, which allows us the opportunity to process the weekend. And then we see each other at the end of the week to process the week we just had. So we can move into the week feeling like rejuvenated and comfortable and being able to actually fully be present in those relationships we care about so much.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, but it definitely helps because the weekend there's always stuff, and then work there's always stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
So before we finish off, Jordana, what would you say to people considering doing coaching and they're unsure?
I mean, if you're already considering it, that's your answer. Like you should try coaching. It's something that, I mean, as I mentioned, I'd never seen it before, and it really is such a personalized experience. And why wouldn't you want something that's going to help you individually with what your needs are? It just makes complete sense. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. So if you're considering it, you already have your answer. It
Thank
helps.
you so much for today, Jordana. I know this is super weird, us being on video and doing this interview for quite a few people. To be honest, guys, I'm not comfortable with video. Jordana is probably not comfortable with video. And we're talking about intimate, personal things that we plan to share. So I really hope you found some takeaways from this and that it helps support you in finding your best fit coach to move you through the next steps of your life. Thank you.